How to co-parent. Why is co-parenting so hard? How to co-parent with a toxic ex. How to co-parent with a narcissist. Co-parenting tips. Co-parenting apps. If you start to Google co-parenting, you will see that there's a lot of things that people are looking for when it comes to co-parenting. So yeah, co-parenting, it's not easy. And there's a lot to work out for yourself if you're in a co-parenting relationship with the other parent of your children. You know, why should I be talking about this? Am I some sort of co-parenting expert, a co-parenting coach, co-parenting therapist? No, I am not. I am not at all. I am a co-parent, and I'm not going to pretend that I have a great relationship with my ex and the dad of my children, because I don't. We do not have a good relationship. A lot of people think we do because they don't really see the reality, the truth of it. But there we are. But I suppose, you know, I have seen a lot of examples of when it doesn't work. I certainly know what I would like our co-parenting relationship to be like. I am a co-parented child myself. My parents got divorced when I was 8, and it took 12 years before we could have both of them in the same room and that not be an uncomfortable experience. So I've seen it. I've seen it from both sides, okay? I've seen it from me as a child and then me as a parent. Hi, anyway, welcome to the vlog. My name is Tova. This is my cat Luca, and the vlog is called ParentXP. I share what life is like with a severely disabled child and an able-bodied child as a single, working, co-parenting special needs mom. Come on in! Hit the subscribe button, by the way, if you haven't yet, and please share my videos far and wide so I reach other people as well. So, why is co-parenting so hard? I think a big reason for why co-parenting is hard has got to do with when you break up with somebody. And I mean, this is my personal belief, my personal experience, so it might not apply to you. But I genuinely believe that if you break up with somebody, you need to have a complete break. You need to have a time period. Exactly how long that time period is, I don't know. It differs from relationship to relationship and person to person. But you need to have a period of time where you are completely apart, where it is completely broken off. Because you're going to have a lot of stuff to process. And you kind of need to process that by yourself. And then after that, you are very likely to be able to come back and be friends and have a good working relationship with each other. It's just not a romantic relationship anymore. And I'm friends with so many of my exes, but there's always been that period of we're not talking. We don't exist in each other's lives. And then we can meet again and we can go forward from there. But when you have children together, you don't have the chance to do that. Because you have children together and you see each other several times a week and you have to communicate with each other several times a week. And I think that means that it takes so much longer to work through hurt and anger and frustration and all of these things that you need to process. And I think, you know, it's different for the different partners. I'm the one who left. And that means that I'm much further on in my processing than my ex is. But that doesn't mean that I'm not hurt. Of course I'm hurt. I never wanted that relationship to end. But it got to a point where I felt it had to. And that means that I have my shit to work through, just as he does. Just because I'm further along the road of this is over, it doesn't mean that I don't have stuff to work through. Okay? And so I think because you don't get that when you co-parent, then you bring all of that hurt and all of that anger and all of that frustration, you bring that with you all the time. And it makes it quite hard to have a functioning co-parenting relationship with each other. And it can take a really long time. It took my parents 12 years, right? And there are so many things that as a co-parent you kind of need to do. And that friction does not help. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. So what do you have to do to co-parent effectively? You have to have a cat that does not push things off the table to play with and be noisy. Oh my gosh, she's playing with a stone. That's not going to be distracting at all, is it? Oh my god. All right, I'm sorry for the background noise. That is my cat playing with a stone. The stone is one that Alice has painted, which is why it's on my dining table and where the cat got it from. Okay? Yes, in order to co-parent effectively, you need to have good communication and good collaboration. There are things that you have to talk to each other about, or at the very least communicate with each other about. The co-parenting schedule is one of them. And I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the co-parenting schedule anyway. How do you make a co-parenting schedule? Now, if you have time commitments that stay the same every week, that is a lot easier. I'm a shift worker. And so things change every week from day to day. We never have the same schedule. We did for a while before I went back to work. We had a set schedule. But then once I started working again, that was no longer possible. But every other weekend, the girls are with me, and the other weekend, the girls are with their dad. So that is set. And then during the week, it all depends on when I can have my children based on the work rota I am on. Provided I don't have a really late finish or a really early start, they can be with me overnight, and I want to see my children as much as possible. And then the nights I can't have them because of my work rota, they are with their dad. And when I say every other weekend, we are still able to keep a little bit of flexibility in that I have swapped weekends over in the past, and I'm doing it again over the summer holiday. There's 2 weekends that I'm basically swapping over, just because it works out better. It has turned out that I am the one setting the schedule, but then I suppose I am the one who works, and I have the rota and all of that kind of stuff, but it falls on me. It falls on me to decide where the children are when, and it falls on me to communicate that. And I communicate that on WhatsApp. So we WhatsApp each other. So when I know my rota, I will sit down with my bullet journal and I will work out when I can have the girls and when they have to be with their dad. And then I write all of that in a WhatsApp message and I send to him. And he's just going to have to accept what I'm doing there. But then as it is on me to make that schedule, then I suppose there's very little room for him to impact. Obviously he can impact as long as he gives me enough notice. I've got something coming up. Can you have the kids there and there? Then I will accommodate that, obviously. And that is always an open option for me. You have to communicate things going on in your children's lives. In our particular situation, we have one able-bodied child and one severely disabled child. And particularly for the second one, there's a lot of hospital appointments and doctor's appointments and things going on. And we both have to know. We both have to have a chance to attend. We both have to discuss outcomes and plans and how we're going forward. So there's a lot there that we need to talk about. And again, when you could really do with having that time apart to work through a lot of hurt emotions and a lot of stuff that you have to process, but then instead you're standing there and you're going, okay, well, should we let our child have this piece of surgery or this piece of medical intervention? Or and those are big things and quite difficult to process in their own. So but things that are going on in the kids' lives, I think you have to talk about. And what has happened over the last few days, so when the kids were with you, what happened, how did they get on, what's going on in their lives? Could be big things, could be bad things, could be good things, right? But it was really good that he told me that Alice had learned to ride her bicycle, for example. Because she wouldn't, she probably would have told me if he hadn't, but that's one. But injuries that happen and also how you deal with what you're told, I think is super important as well. So my youngest daughter is a bit of a climber, and she'd fallen off a piece of playground equipment and she had really winded herself, and she was super scared because she was lying there and she was things were hurting and she couldn't bloody breathe. And I could have, well, first of all, he had to tell me about that, because if that had come from her, if Alice had gone, oh, mummy, I hurt myself, and he hadn't told me, that would have really annoyed me. So I think, that's something you need, as a co-parent, you need to communicate those things. Like, the kid got hurt the other day, here's what happened. But I could have flown off the handle because she got hurt on his watch. Why did you let her climb something so dangerous? Why didn't you keep a better eye on her? Yada, yada, yada. I did not. Oh my God. Cat. What I chose to do was to praise how he dealt with it, because this is something I genuinely feel that he's very good at, is dealing with injuries. When they told me about that, I basically turned to Alice and I went, well, how good it was that you were with Daddy when that happened, because he can really deal with that. He could then tell me how he dealt with it and what he did and how he calmed her down and got her breathing again and all of those things. And I think that's super important. But yeah, you have to know what's going on in the kids' lives. And so another thing that we have is apart from the WhatsApp group, we have a Google Calendar as well that we share. So we both Dad, me and Elin's carer has access to this Google Calendar, because it's when Elin's in respite care, when Elin is in play scheme, when Alice has holiday clubs, when Alice goes swimming, just stuff like that we put in that calendar. So we always know, obviously every appointment is in there as well. So we always know what's happening to which child at which point in time. Another thing that you need to communicate about and collaborate around is, where is the stuff? That is probably one of the worst things of your children having two homes. I never know where anything is. Right now, I have no short sleeve t-shirts and no underwear for Elin. I have no idea how none of this is here, and it is all at Dad's, but it's all at Dad's. I have no shoes for Alice here. I've got winter boots, but no shoes. That has all gone to Dad's. And there are probably things here that he gets really frustrated about, and I'm not even thinking about it. But, there should, in theory, there should be an equal exchange of stuff moving back and forth, but it isn't. I don't know why it isn't. So if there's something I need to tell him, you have to send blah and blah and blah back to me, and vice versa. Actually, I know what's here. I have all the swimming costumes. All the swimming costumes are here. None of them are at Dad's. Again, I don't get it. I don't get why there isn't an even flow back and forth, but there isn't. Child has a birthday party coming up in a few weeks when child is at mine. Child wants to wear blah and blah. I believe that stuff is at yours. Can we get it to mine? In Elin's case, Elin has a lot of equipment for her needs, and some of it goes back and forth all the time, like her medicines just go back and forth, her sleep system goes back and forth, but he will give me a stash of syringes and a stash of pads to keep here. So when I run low, I have to let him know so that he can send more over. Then there are things that I think co-parents should communicate about. I think you need to talk about when you're planning to go away somewhere. And I think you need to communicate that ahead of time. Obviously with a child with... All right, let me just do this, sorry. Getting noisy. If you're planning on going away for a weekend that you don't have the children, strictly speaking, that's none of my business. But if something happens, I need to know where you are. And if how far away you are. Are you abroad, or are you actually in the country? Are you within a few hours reach? I need to know. And particularly with a child like Elin, I need to know where you are and whether you can come back. And that also means that you can do a little bit more, you can plan ahead, right? So their dad went away for a weekend, and that particular weekend, Elin decided to have a lot of seizures, and it was touch and go for a while whether we were going to go into hospital or not. Now, if I know that he's home, then he's the one I call. Right, Elin's on her way into hospital, you need to come and take Alice. But if he's going to be away, then I put a different plan in place, because that means I can leave him to his thing, right? And I don't want to interrupt a weekend away for him, God no. And likewise, I don't particularly want a weekend away interrupted. But you kind of want to know ahead of time. I personally believe that it's important to communicate your health issues, especially if it's going to impact on the kids. are you going to have a surgical procedure or a medical procedure, your ex-partner needs to know. They just do. I think that's super important. Now, this might be a little bit controversial. I don't necessarily think you have to communicate new relationships. I actually don't. But I suppose this comes from the fact that I trust that if he is in a relationship with somebody, he will be sensitive to when and how he introduces that somebody to the kids. I'm actually all right with not knowing. I don't think I necessarily have that. That's none of my business. I know a lot of people feel very differently. They feel that if their ex has a new partner, they absolutely have to tell them. And, you know, particularly if they're going to introduce this new partner to the children, that they have to be open about it. And I personally don't. I don't think that my new relationship is any of my ex's business. And I don't think that if I choose to do something together with the girls and him, that is any of my ex's business either. But yeah, a lot of people disagree on that. A lot of people have this, there's a lot of interesting rules about when you should tell and when you should do things. And it seems like 6 months is a magic mark, a magic time frame for when you do introduce a new partner, or when you tell your ex about your new partner. And I don't know who makes these rules up, but there we are. You can't tell your kids how much you dislike their other parent. I'm sorry, but you can't. You can't put that on them, because they will feel like they have to make a choice. So even though your ex-partner does something that annoys the crap out of you, you cannot let that show, and you cannot say anything. And Alice can come here and she can say, Daddy did this or Daddy said that, and in my head I'm going, what the actual? And outwardly I have to go, okay, what did you think about that? And make it about her, because if I explode, she might think that she has to choose between me and Dad, or she might think that she can't tell me things. And I really need her to feel like she can trust me and tell me things. And I cannot ask her to choose between me and Daddy. She loves her dad, she adores him, and I want him to love him and adore him. You know, I know a lot of people come from very difficult relationships, that a lot of people refer to their children's other parent as the sperm donor, and, you know, these kinds of things. And I thankfully, you know, that is not the case. We might not get on particularly well, we might not like each other particularly much, but we can co-parent, and he's not a bad person. He's not a horrible individual. So, yeah, I'm just try not to let your feelings show on your face, is what I'm saying. That it's not easy, and I've slipped up. I have definitely slipped up, but I'm trying not to. You can't make your children messengers between the two of you. This is unfortunately something my parents did to me, and it was awful. Your children are not there to communicate between you and your ex. They are not the messengers. You have to talk to each other. No matter how difficult it is, you have to communicate and not make that the kids' responsibilities. And you can't ask your kids to keep secrets from the other parent. That's not okay either. And then I suppose you need to give the co-parenting relationship time. You need to have a certain level of patience. In this co-parenting relationship, while there are two of us in it, I am only responsible for one of us, and that's myself. So the only person whose feelings and reactions and actions I can take responsibility for are mine. And so I might feel like I want him to be a certain way, or I want him to do a certain thing, or act in a specific manner. I have no control over that. And if I let that get the better of me, then I just make the co-parenting relationship all the more difficult. So there's a lot of patience. There's a lot of biting my tongue, and I think you're just gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to cope with it. You're a big girl now. You can do it. And I think, you know, choosing to see what works, choosing to see what's good. As I say, there's a lot of things that I think he deals with really well as a parent, and I will highlight them and I will make a point of them. The fact that we do co-parent. How many single moms who parent 100% alone do you know? Because I know a lot, and particularly special needs parenting community, the co-parenting does not come easy for us. The whole of society is set up to ruin a co-parent relationship. You only get equipment for one home, you only get benefits for one home, you only get support for one home. Like, it's stay together no matter what, or go it 100% alone is what the society is making us special needs parents do. So at least we are co-parenting. We're making it work. Even though it's hard sometimes, it's still happening, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And my kids love their dad, and I'm extremely grateful for that. How to co-parent, it isn't easy. It's absolutely not easy. And it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of biting tongue and just shutting up. And it takes a lot of communication, and that's an oxymoron because they come after each other. Shut up, but communicate. You can do it. And I think, you also just need to allow a lot, and I mean a lot of time. Do you have any co-parenting tips? Is there anything I have missed off that you have tried yourself in your new works, or do you have any questions? Is there anything that isn't working for you and you're kind of going, how do I deal with this? You know where the comment field is, so head on over there and have a ball. And I will see you again in the next vlog. So thank you for watching, and have a beautiful day. Bye!